SharePoint's main reason for existence for most organizations is as a collaborative internal platform. It's focused on these collaboration sites and team sites, document management, and so on, and it does a great job of that. But first with SharePoint 2007, and then with SharePoint 2010, there is a growing use of SharePoint for public-facing websites too. Now, if you're looking for examples of these, you could take a look at the site called wssdemo.com. Now, while this site itself was created as a normal foundation site, that's not the reason I'm pointing you to it. It has a list of public SharePoint websites. You can first look at a few screenshots of the latest ones, but there's over 2,300 at this particular time, and you can flick through these and find some inspiration and see what people are actually doing with SharePoint for public-facing websites. You see, we wouldn't use a team site or a document workspace for that kind of job. So the publishing portal is that part of SharePoint suggested as a starting point for a public internet site, although you'll also hear it used as a starting point for a large-scale intranet internal portal. Now, like all sites in SharePoint, it is just a suggestion. You don't have to use it. You can construct a public site from the other building blocks that we've seen. But if you want to know what part of SharePoint 2010 that Microsoft provide as the suggested starting point for an internet site, this is it. Now, one of the first things you run into when experimenting with a publishing portal, and we've already seen it a couple of times, is the enforced workflow. Whether you're creating a new master page or a page layout, or just making a simple title change to say the home page, when you save any change, it's counted as being checked out. It's counted as being a draft version. So you have to check it in, publish it as a major version, go through an approval process. Now, as we explored earlier in the course, this content control is completely configurable. You would just need to change the settings of the library that the asset is in. In this case, I just changed something about the home page, which is in the Pages library, and it's the Pages library that controls this content control here that I'm seeing. Now, occasionally people make the mistake of thinking, oh, if I want to use the SharePoint publishing feature, I have to use the publishing portal. And no, you really don't. This site does, as we've seen, have publishing turned on, which I can see both from the status bar here and even just from looking at the Site Actions menu. I've got the Manage Content and Structure option, which only appears when publishing is enabled. But the publishing feature can be turned on for other sites and is on for another template too, like the Enterprise Wiki. It's not unique to this one. Now, making a publishing portal like this is done in SharePoint Central Administration, and it does nothing magical to make this site suddenly public and out there on the web. You see, all SharePoint sites behave as if they're internal. They want to authenticate everybody, and this one is no different. One of the things you'll see on the publishing portal right out of the box is a message on the homepage saying that you need to turn on anonymous access if you want to allow people to see this site without logging in. Now, I could click this link here and we jump to one of the settings pages about anonymous access. Now, this may not mean much to you, but it's really telling you that just because you made a publishing portal, it does not mean that people can get to this site over the web. You're going to have to get involved with your farm administrators to make sure that, first off, the machine that SharePoint is running on is reachable over the public internet, and then that the web application this is running on is reachable, and then that this site collection has anonymous access turned on, because until this point, it's going to try and authenticate anyone. And if this site doesn't know who you are, you will get an access denied message as on any other SharePoint site. And in this case, even though I've jumped to this setting, I am not actually allowed to change it, simply because SharePoint is recognizing that there are settings higher up the ladder that will not allow anonymous users to get to this site. But we're not really focused on the technical side of allowing this site to be visible over the internet. We're really talking about how do you work with it. Now, I'm looking at a publishing portal pretty much as it was created right out of central administration. And the publishing portal can only be created as a top-level site, not as a sub-site. And it's important to understand why. And it's really because the publishing portal isn't just a SharePoint site. It is a site collection by itself. And that's very important into understanding how we start to build it out. Well, above everything else, it is a SharePoint site, so I can go to my Site Actions menu and click View All Site Content. I will see your classic SharePoint structure. This site is made of lists and libraries. There's nothing remarkable about it. In fact, if I come down a little bit, I can actually see that not only do I have this site, I have two sub-sites underneath it, press releases and search. And these sites are created when the publishing portal is created. You actually get 3 SharePoint sites in a new site collection: the top level site, and then a press releases sub-site, and then a search site. And the press releases site is here as an example of how you're supposed to add new areas to this website, and we'll explore that next.